Hello and welcome to CATSweek. I'm Annalise Poorman. The Monroe County Election Board met on December 7th. At the meeting, County Clerk Nicole Brown gave an update on the final number of provisional ballots that were accepted for the 2023 municipal election.
Provisional ballots are, for whatever reason, typically it's you don't have an ID or you've moved and you're in the wrong precinct or some reason that you're not issued a regular ballot, and then you have 10 days to cure the issue that was the reason that you vote provisionally. Voters leave with an understanding of what they need to do in those 10 days. So if you forgot your ID, you show up at Election Central and let us make a copy of your ID that's given to the board, and then that ballot is counted. If there's an issue surrounding your address, you might bring a Duke Energy bill to prove that you do live there, you've got a bill in your name, and that helps you to cure or any type of error. Anyway, we had 15 provisional ballots, and for the board's edification, I'll remind you that what we agreed to was to accept 5 of those and to reject 10 of those. So 5 more ballots were able to be counted into the totals that we received for the 2023 municipal election.
She also said that voter turnout was lower this year and that the low numbers were probably due to the absence of a presidential election.
We had 77,597 registered voters who were eligible. I want to differentiate that from the total numbers of voters in Monroe County. But between the being able to vote on the referendum and living within the city limits of Bloomington, there were 77,597 people who could partake in the 2023 municipal. And of those eligible voters, 10,441 voted. Now, my math is not always the greatest, but I did a little percentage thing before I stepped in here today, and to me that equates to 13.46% of the number of eligible voters took advantage. Many people stayed out. That's unfortunate when you think about, how much money it costs to put on an election, but we appreciate those who did. This is also, I want to take advantage of every opportunity to thank our poll workers who did show up. It was hard work to get those poll workers to come out. Many people, everybody's excited about a presidential election, but for municipal, people think, catch me next year. And so I want to thank any and everyone who helped us with this election. I'm incredibly grateful.
Deputy Clerk Kylie Moreland shared the results of the poll workers survey they sent out following the most recent election.
We sent out 131 surveys and have received back a total of 55 as of today. Most of the workers want to return to work future elections, saying election day ran smoothly given the shortage of workers. They were impressed with how well Election Central was able to quickly answer any questions they had, making them comfortable with opening the polls and wanting to come back to work another election. A lot of people have mentioned that they are skeptical about how smoothly the 2024 election will run, given the concerns with having the proper coverage at each poll.
Brown added that she followed up with any poll workers who responded that they did not have a positive experience. She also noted that she does not expect to have a shortage of poll workers during the 2024 election due to the presidential election attracting more attention.
We did not really have overwhelmingly negative response. I did call one person who actually offered to come and meet with us and give us some feedback on things that they see in real time that might help us, give us some feedback, and we have scheduled a meeting with them for after the conference to get their feedback. There were some inspectors who were displeased because they had to step into other roles because we did run short with not being able to get a lot of poll workers. I'll gently remind inspectors that that's why we pay you a little bit more than we pay other poll workers, because you may have to step into a role. Unfortunately, somebody told me they thought they should get double the pay because they did 2 times, they filled 2 roles. That's not really how it works, but that is why you get that little bit more than you get, than others get. Conversely, I had some people who came on in a lower role, stepped up into a higher role, and that takes that we appreciate. That is what I am trying to get at very inarticulately. We appreciate that because you signed on to do one job, you stepped up to do another. We're very, very grateful for your help in that. And as I said, I believe this will look different in 2024. College students will be here and want to participate in the presidential. Don't forget that we can use our 16 and 17-year-olds. And people get excited as we look to change.
At the end of the meeting, Democratic Chair David Henry announced that he will be resigning from the election board so that he will be able to run for the at-large county council position.
Secondly, will be another shift in the board here, as well as I will be stepping down from the board by the end of the year. As, of course, the Democratic Party chair, it will fall to me to find a new Democratic representative for our election board, as I'll be stepping off the board by the end of the year, as I said there. This has been a really challenging and interesting year. I did not expect to be sitting in this chair this time last year, but found myself in it and wanting to stay on every month because there's so many interesting things that go on in this space as we work through our elections. This board in 2 different iterations with Donovan Garlitz before Judith had recounts on its plate. We had a question of residency on our plate. We had caucuses we had to take a look at, and we had a lot of legal questions. I know from the state election division, I think we put them through the ringer at least. And so I thank you all for your professionalism during all of that. It was really an education and a trial by fire in some ways. But we got through a lot, and of course that's to the Clerk Brown's leadership as well, and Judge Benkart having you here too. Thanks for being good partners over the past year.
County Clerk Nicole Brown thanked Henry and commended him for his service on the election board.
I want to thank you for your service. You have been very kind. You are very knowledgeable. Your service has been unparalleled, for which I bow in gratitude. It's a pleasure working with you, and I certainly wish you well going forward.
Thanks, Nicole. Thanks, Clerk Brown. I appreciate it.
I can't say anything more than that. I think you have been very easy to work with, and I've found you to be straightforward and honest, and I definitely appreciate it. Thank you.
The next election board meeting will be held on January 4th. At their meeting on December 6th, the Bloomington City Council discussed ordinances 23-29 and 23-30. The ordinances will help repair and make improvements to the sewage and water works in Bloomington. The first ordinance would establish bonds to help finance the renovations and attempts to modernize the Dillman wastewater treatment plant and the underground river stormwater project. Utilities Director Vic Kelson explained why the projects are necessary.
We're talking about bonds that are in the sewer utility, which includes the stormwater utility financially. So we are talking about projects for sewer and projects for stormwater. And there's a little history with this. In 2016, in the fall of 2016, we received a letter from the Indiana Department of Environmental Management requiring that we begin taking action to increase the capacity of the Dillman Road wastewater treatment plant. We had exceeded 90% of rated capacity for 3 consecutive years at that plant, so it was time. We began right away working with IDEM and others on that effort, and we did a first round project that was $23 million. That project was completed a couple of years ago, and it put us very close to where we needed to be, but we aren't there yet. We had left a few things undone. Some of them were improvements to digesters and things like that. And so now we're ready to go on to that second phase of that sewer project. Unfortunately, in the meantime, we had a pandemic and a huge onset of massive increases in costs. So the second part of it's going to be more expensive than the first part was. But most importantly, when we have completed this next round of projects at the Dillman plant, our rated capacity will be increased from 15 to 19 million gallons per day. We brought the rate review for that, for the sewer and the storm to the council last November. It was November 16th was the night I presented. So it has taken that long to get everything approved by IDEM and make sure that we're going to actually get the rate increase that we had intended. So, so that's the story of the sewer one. The stormwater bond, there have been a number of projects, most famously the Big Dig back in the 1990s. We did the Hidden River project here a couple of years ago, and we have now replaced the entire Clear Creek Tunnel all the way from near the Von Lee all the way down to First and Washington. We have one section left, and it's basically that last portion, essentially from Dunn Street over to Indiana, and 6th and Indiana is the intersection that always floods during major rain events. We have had to do land acquisition and easement acquisition and so forth related to that. And that project, which we thought would be less expensive, turns out to be, it looks like it's going to be in the $5 to $6 million range. So we have rearranged the funding plans that we had for projects in the stormwater utility, and we decided we would prefer to bond for those rather than try to do it all pay-as-you-go.
Both ordinances passed unanimously. At the Monroe County Commissioners' meeting on December 6, Commissioner Julie Thomas informed county residents about newly available rural housing repair funds in collaboration with the County Council using American Rescue Act plan funds.
Just notification for all county residents outside the city of Bloomington that we are providing, we worked with the council and we created a $400,000 fund for rural housing repair. So this is a way to keep our current housing stock in great shape in the county. And this is funding through the American Rescue Plan Act. And our initial projects list will go up to $20,000, and essentially the funding is available until it runs out. So these are structural repairs, things like HVAC, roof, flooring, foundations, electrical, plumbing, so what we're asking our residents to do is to apply through their township trustee. And if you need that information, you can call us at the commissioner's office at 349-2550, area code 812. The trustees will assist with putting together the application packet. It's pretty simple, straightforward process, but we are really grateful for our building department, Mr. LaRue, and others who are helping us, helped us, formulate this project and help create it. So, but the idea is this is for low and moderate income residents of Monroe County. And if you're not sure if you qualify, your trustee will be able to help you with that information. Now, all of the trustees have agreed to assist with this project except for Perry Township. So residents in Perry Township outside of the city of Bloomington are encouraged to contact our commissioner's office directly with their application, and we'll work with them directly. And again, that phone number is 812-349-2550, or email us at commissionersoffice@co.monroe.in.us. We're really excited about this program, and we're really grateful for everyone who has helped make this happen. So appreciate the trustees especially.
Later, County Attorney Jeff Cockrell asked the commissioners to approve a statement allowing a tax abatement for Enhanced Semiconductors Incorporated in the Curry Profile TIF allocation area.
Yes, and I'll start with a little of the process on this tax abatement. This tax abatement is different than a lot of tax abatements we go through because it's already in an economic revitalization area, which is the process to establish that as a process that typically takes the council 2 months. But since that has already been declared an economic revitalization area, which is essentially an area where we want to help promote growth, and we are seeing a need to give additional assistance for that growth. That's what that is. This is also in a tax increment finance district, which requires the commissioners to approve the statement of benefits prior to the abatement being issued. This item went through the Economic Development Commission last Friday with a recommendation to approve the tax abatement. At that meeting, I kind of, from a staff perspective, pointed out 3 things that we thought made this a little bit different than our normal abatement, because their request is a little bit different than our normal abatement in that they are asking for a 10-year, 100% abatement each year of the property tax for personal property, so the equipment they're putting in the building. There is no request for a tax abatement on the real property improvement that may be associated with that. We think there will be some, but I'm loath to tell you what the value of that would be because the type of, this is a semiconductor manufacturing, and is it characterized as a real property improvement or is it a personal property improvement? I am not an expert in that, and so I don't want to venture there. But we really looked at 3 different areas where we think this is a positive for the community. One, they expect by the end of 2029 to have 250 new jobs, and each of those jobs would have a salary in excess of $100,000 on average.
Stimulus Economic Development Advisors representative Tim Conrad gave a presentation on the semiconductor facility's potential and how the tax abatement could benefit the county.
The context of this project is a real push to onshore this technology over the last several decades. Most semiconductor manufacturing has moved towards Asia. There is a national push to onshore that. This project specifically would be an advanced packaging facility. When we hear packaging, we're not talking cardboard. We are talking about microelectronics, so think a clean room environment. We're talking about fractions of a hair width of material, so microelectronics. And specifically for the commercial market that this facility would service. In order to do that, they would lease space at the Cook facility that Jeff mentioned. That facility would require pretty significant investment to get it up to spec with all the clean room equipment and a hefty investment in very specialized microelectronics manufacturing equipment.
During public comment on the resolution, President of the Bloomington Economic Development Corporation, Jennifer Pearl, spoke in favor of the tax abatement.
Our team has had the pleasure of working with them all for many months this year on this project. We see this as an incredible opportunity for Monroe County, which is evolving as an epicenter for innovation in Indiana. We're seeing billions of dollars coming through the federal and the state governments like U.S. CHIPS and Science, infrastructure funds, and Indiana Ready. Investments from IU and Crane, and communities like ours can really leverage these opportunities coming in. This is somewhere where we're seeing that opportunity. Enhanced is really a leader, as you've heard, in their field. And their proposed investment of $150 million is actually one of the largest that our team has seen in the last over 4 years of working on projects. Their plans to hire 250 employees with the average annual wage of over $100,000, not including benefits, is higher than our median household income of around $54,000, according to the US Census Bureau. That's especially critical because our local private sector hourly wages actually lag the statewide average. So we're very excited about this, especially because there's avenues for individuals who maybe don't have a 4-year degree for work with them. The abatement request will also help them make a significant investment in equipment and speeding their growth further. It's also investing in a brownfield in our community and a great reuse of the property. So we're really excited about that. So the BEDC supports this project and appreciates your consideration of the abatement request. Thank you.
The commissioners approved the tax abatement resolution unanimously. During the December 5th meeting of the Bloomington Board of Public Works, Assistant City Attorney Alexandria Pratt made a case for a memorandum of understanding for a lease buyout of the Monroe County Humane Association.
So the city and the Monroe County Humane Association, or MCHA, are seeking to terminate a lease agreement. Under that agreement, the MCHA was leasing a portion of the animal shelter facility rent-free for 40 years in exchange for transferring its property rights to the city. And under the memorandum of understanding that is currently pending in front of the board, that agreement will be terminated, and the city will pay the MCHA $95,000 as compensation for the rest of that period of 20 years. And the funding for the purchase will come from the appropriation ordinance that is scheduled for first reading for tomorrow in front of City Council.
Board member Kyla Cox-Deckard asked how the amount of money for the buyout was settled. Pratt responded.
I was trying to discern how we came to the amount of money that we're paying.
So I believe the amount was the negotiated amount between the parties. The rough estimate was $100,000, and after negotiations, that amount came down to $95,000.
The board approved the agreement unanimously. At the Bloomington Utilities Service Board meeting on December 4th, Utilities engineer Phil Peden asked the board to approve 2 items, an agreement with the Weddle Brothers Building Group and an agreement with Champlin Engineering.
We went through an extensive request for proposal process, and I want to give Kevin White a lot of credit, my colleague in engineering who handled a lot of this work up front. So we did a request for proposals for this project, and we got 4 submittals, all strong submittals, but those rose to the top with, after our interview process, a review of those submittals, the Champlin was the one that rose to the top. There was a 6-panel team that reviewed those. They were the assistant directors and Vic, and those were based on their work experience, their understanding of the project, what we were looking for, and cost, and some other items. Those were all scored and evaluated. Champlin comes with a great deal of experience, especially impressed with their experience on Duke sites where they've designed new service centers and maintenance and operation facilities for Duke. They seem to be very similar to what we're trying to accomplish for CBU.
Board President Amanda Burnham commented, clarifying that these projects would cost a total of about $5 million. Utilities Director Vic Kelson explained why these renovations are necessary.
Is to acknowledge the fact that at this moment, and for many years, we have millions of dollars of equipment and materials rusting in the rain. And they've been there for years, and they're there today, rusting in the rain. Long term, what the situation is for utilities right now is that we have an insufficient building, and we have insufficient parking, we have insufficient garage, we have insufficient covered storage. So the purpose of this project is really to create a long-term plan for the Utilities Department and how the Utilities Department continues to function.
The board approved the agreement. Next, the board heard a request for the approval to fund 5 different stormwater projects that have to meet the criteria explained by MS4 Program Coordinator Liz Carter.
We broke it into 5 major buckets. The first was equity. We wanted to make sure that we were looking at folks who didn't already have someone advocating for them as much as possible, so neighborhood associations, HOAs, someone else that was responsible for their drainage. We looked at community benefit, so if we fund your project, is the neighborhood going to be better both aesthetically and from a water quantity perspective, as well as a question of, are we having multiple applicants? We are pleased that of the 5 projects we're funding, only one of them is a single homeowner. Everybody else has multiple properties involved. We looked at the environmental impact, such as what kind of grid infrastructure are we getting from these projects, what kind of water quality improvement are we having. Then we looked at feasibility, improved conveyance, collection, and detention. So that was Phil's part that he was really advising us on. And then lastly, we looked at the location of long-term issues. You know, were we looking at projects that we're receiving a lot of complaints about on a regular basis?
Carter said that they are not using the full $100,000 this year and will instead reach out to people that they think will need the money rather than people who come to them. Burnham said that she was very pleased with their work.
It's a fun thing to be able to give money out and help others in the community, and then also help the overall storm system. So I'm glad that we do this, and thanks for your continued work on it.
The next Bloomington Utilities Service Board meeting will be held on December 14th. And that is all for CATSweek. Thank you for joining us. For CATS and WFHB, I'm Annalise Poorman.